If I was about to forget every comic story I'd ever read, but could first record a message for myself just before the mind wipe, this would be the result.
You're a wonderful man, in your satin tights.
Condor Man, da-da-da-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Essential Issues, where I talk about my favorite DC comics of the past that are still affordably available today, blabbing about why they're special to me and what, if anything, they have to say about the essential issues of life. Now, warning, this series does freely contain spoilers, although I will not be spoiling the reveal of the killer or the ending of the story that I'm going to be talking about today. But I would say, on the note of spoilers in this series, I think that even spoiled, these stories that I feature are well worth reading. For more information about the intent of this series and what to expect from it, you can check out the video on the Christian Geek Central YouTube channel titled Essential Issues Series Introduction. Okay, we've covered some key origin stories from DC Comics, and now we're moving into stories that feature major events in the DC universe, or that in some way define the status quo for certain characters, or the status quo of continuity, or that are, in my view, iconic representations of DC characters. And so now we're looking at Batman: The Long Halloween, written by Jeff Loeb with art by Tim Sale. It was published monthly over the course of a year and presents a whodunit murder mystery as a mysterious killer dubbed Holiday is taking out members of a local crime family exclusively on holidays throughout the year. The visuals feature a high contrast art style with lots of dark, inky shadows and exaggerated character designs in a dark crime noir type setting. The writing and art, I think, work together to push that noir vibe, giving big panel introductions to key characters with internal monologues accompanying them from Batman or Bruce Wayne that provide basic info and his current thoughts about each player or suspect in the story. Also helping the noir vibe is a story that heavily revolves around the Falcone crime family introduced in Batman Year One, for which this story is almost a sequel. Despite the exaggerated character designs, the rest of the art and writing style help it feel both dramatic and grounded, like I think a good crime noir story should feel. Although for most of Batman's cast, this is not an origin story, it's still interesting to see Batman interacting with now classic villains in ways that suggest they haven't yet shared a long history. Especially of note is Batman's relationship with Harvey Dent before he becomes Two-Face, which is actually built up to and plays out as a supporting plot to the main story. So that would be the exception where we do see the origin story of Two-Face in these pages. Like any good mystery, pages are repeatedly devoted to characters sorting through the evidence and clues as Batman, then Captain Jim Gordon, and District Attorney Harvey Dent work together to try and solve the mystery of Holiday's identity as the body count stacks at least one higher each month. Even Batman and the Riddler talk over possible scenarios for potential suspects with accompanying black and white panels that visually play out these hypotheticals for the reader. It's not an unfair mystery, and while the reveal took me by surprise the first time I read it, I have to admit that all the clues were there for me to at least have had good reason to suspect who Holiday was. In addition to being driven by the murder mystery, it also has some nice attention given to characters and relationships. Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle have a flirtatious relationship both in and out of costume, similar to the one featured in the movie Batman Returns. It's a fun return to the early days before they knew each other's secret identities. And I always appreciate a bit of retreading of Batman's origins and motivations. In this story, we learn that as a child, Bruce asked his mom to wear the pearl necklace to the theater the night Martha and Thomas Wayne were killed. It was that pearl necklace that attracted the mugger, resulting in their deaths. So not only is Bruce haunted by trauma, he's haunted by guilt as well. Harvey Dent's transformation into Two-Face is a slow and steady build, and perceptive readers will notice that half his face is often cast in shadow when he is kind of skirting the edge of what is legal and moral, hinting at his dark destiny. As Harvey's story progresses, we see the appearance of his unusual two-headed coin not long before that fated day in the courtroom where his face is splashed with concentrated acid. There have been other versions of the origins of Two-Face that I might appreciate more, maybe, I'm not sure, like that in Batman the Animated Series I thought was really good, or in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight I thought that was good as well, but this version is also, I think, really solid. Despite the length of the collected trade paperback, which brings together 13 issues and a total of 370 pages of story, large panels with comparatively little text make it a fast read with striking visuals along the way. As for potential themes about the essential issues of life, Harvey Dent's story certainly represents a frustration with the limitations of human justice systems, a frustration that ultimately tips him over the edge to viciously taking matters into his own hands. Now, I've never been tempted to kill anyone, but I have taken justice, or what I felt was justice, into my own hands many times in my life. I've shut down communication with family members as a way of sort of kind of punishing them when I think they have wronged me, you know. I've broken copyright law when I felt entitled to some bit of entertainment for whatever reason that I justified in my mind. But I'm not a trustworthy and fair dispenser of justice. In fact, mysteriously, I seem to be the most interested in justice when I'm the one being wronged. Oh, that's interesting. And when considering all the little ways I've tried to create justice for myself, I think a story like this can sort of offer a corrective if I'm willing to examine myself. I don't think this story lends itself to that. I think that, me coming to that, self-examination is out of a desire to specifically look for those kinds of things in the entertainment that I take in. So I don't think it's a really big, bold element of the story that is generally going to make a lot of people really think about their lives and their choices and things like that. But on a similar note, Batman expresses several times a vow he once made to rid Gotham of the evil that took his parents' lives. In his final pages of the story, he expresses his belief that he will eventually succeed in keeping that vow. I have to, he says. I believe in Batman. Now, this final statement, using the phrase I believe in Batman, is the culmination of a sort of a through line of statements Bruce makes about other characters throughout the story, saying, I believe in Harvey Dent, or I believe in Jim Gordon. The final word being that Batman believes in himself kind of falls flat for me. I mean, Batman is clearly flawed, and so his belief in himself should come with some serious qualifications. I get that it's supposed to be this kind of play on words a bit that's been set up over the course of the story. I get that it's supposed to be this inspiring final statement made by this character, but what is it meant to inspire? Does Batman here represent an ideal person or group that we should kind of hope will bring ultimate justice? Should we try to identify with Batman and say, we have to clean up the world. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to do this. Is that what we're supposed to feel? I think so. I mean, it strikes me as a very humanist statement of unwarranted self-confidence. And I don't think it's being made because Batman is an atheist or a humanist, as he seems to be in the comics. I think this is a representation of probably the writer's view of wanting to see humanity step up and change the world. And certainly we can do some good things, but are humans going to be the ones that are ultimately going to rid cities of evil? I don't think so, and I think someone placing their hope in that is kind of a sad statement, actually. I've seen enough of humanity, and I know just enough about history to be confident we are not on the road to a utopia if we will only just believe in ourselves more. That said, I think superheroes in general resonate with us in part because we all long for someone to have the goodness of character and the power to make all the wrong things right. We all want the world to be rescued by a rescuer. Now, we might wrongly think we will be that rescuer, but we all still recognize, I think, the mess we are in and the need for someone to fix it. And for that, I can be no more than a willing participant in the rescue plan that God alone can and will bring about for the world. In wrapping up, I'd add that even after the killer is revealed, there's a big surprise I totally forgot about at the end of this story, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it just made me itch to read the follow-up, the sequel to this, which is called Batman Dark Victory. It's the same creative team that made that one. Reading that one, I wasn't as impressed with it when I read it the first time, but getting to the end of the story, I'm like, ooh, that's a tease. Maybe I should give that one another try. I'm not planning on featuring Batman Dark Victory in this series, but it is the sequel to Long Halloween, so if you read this one, Long Halloween, and like it, then you might want to give Batman Dark Victory a try too. You can get both Batman the Long Halloween and Batman Dark Victory for less than $20 each on Amazon and closer to $15 each on Kindle and Comixology. Well, we are going to stay with Batman for a few more installments of this series, and the next story that we'll explore is a relatively short one, but a massive game changer for one of Batman's supporting cast members, as well as a defining look at Batman's most dangerous foe. Next time, we're going to take a look at Batman the Killing Joke.